what an incredible journey with ups and downs to get to this moment. And I see a lot of people that have talked about maybe being a little bit worried with his form, dipping with club and country over the second half of the season. It doesn't concern me whatsoever. I mean, Christian Pulisic has proved he's a big game player, big time player. You don't become the poster boy without being able to step up. So he is going to be there game one and through the tournament, making the U.S. fans proud.
At the end of a week when Mauricio Pochettino announced his 26-man roster for the World Cup, we are underway in Charlotte, less than 2 weeks away from the kickoff and a home World Cup, a moment that these players will never forget. Today, facing one of the best teams that Africa has to offer, a team that on the pitch won the African Cup of Nations just a few months ago, only to have that questioned and later removed, and the result awarded to Morocco. Here's Iliman Ndiaye down the right side. This is a heavy African Cup of Nations final squad that has come to the US here ahead of the World Cup. 5 of this 11 started the AFCON final. 5 more of the 11 were in the squad. And the one player that wasn't is an 18-year-old teenage phenom from Bayern Munich, who is the next African wonder kid, Barasapoko Ndiaye, who starts in the midfield today. There's Sebastian Berhalter with a headed ball forward looking for Gio Reyna. And Adams finds Berhalter in the midfield. Neat play this from the United States in the early moments here in Charlotte. And down the right for Dest, who plays further forward down that right side. Alex Freeman behind him today. And what a day it is for Tim Ream, who plays his club football in this stadium with Charlotte, and just a couple of days ago was named the World Cup captain by Mauricio Pochettino. And Ndiaye able to get this one away as Pulisic tries to run back. Nicholas Jackson through the middle, gives it away, and Freeman over halfway. The Villarreal man up towards Pepe. A rare start for Ricardo Pepe. His first start since November of 2024 in the Nations League quarterfinals against Jamaica. A high tempo opening in this one. In the sunshine and heat of Charlotte. Dest down the right side. Played away by Diarra of Sunderland.
This is the defensive unit they're going to see through most of this game. That mid-block is going to be so important. That in between the lines, the speed of pass, the speed of movement off of it is just super sharp, but also being switched on to transition. This Senegalese team really good in transition.
Robinson with a ball in towards Christian Pulisic, who stabs it across goal, but cleared away only as far as Tim Ream. Some early pressure here inside the opening 3 minutes. Tyler Adams, the Bournemouth midfielder, turns and rolls it backwards towards Mark McKenzie. 7 of the starting 11 today for the US played at the World Cup in 2022. 6 of the 11 started all 4 games, including Turner, who is in goal today. Ream, who is on the ball now. Adams also starting every game in Qatar.
And look at the fullbacks for the US. I mean, we're playing a back three. I see all the debates, but look at how high they are.
Reyna down the right side towards Dest. Reyna down the right side towards Dest. Freeman.
Definitely the posture that Pochettino loves for the US. Taking some risk, but balance in transition.
It's cross whipped into the middle, but Senegal looking to clear, and there is a man down. Luke Wildman and Kyle Martino here in the broadcast booth at Bank of America Stadium. And Melissa Ortiz is pitch side. Melissa.
Guys, it's full energy as we've seen in the first 4 minutes, and that's something that I saw even before the match started. On the players' arrivals, they were hyped up. It sensed like it was different than other games we've seen before. They had Snoop Dogg playing, they had game face on, and it's something that Mauricio Pochettino has even said. Since the roster release, it seems like a sense of relief amongst the players, but also full focus. And that's what we're seeing, especially in the first few minutes of this game.
I mean, you know it's game time when Snoop Dogg shows up.
For sure. Mane down the left side, the former Liverpool man. And the referee gives the free kick here. The referee today, that's the experienced Scottish official, 35-year-old Nick Walsh, who takes charge of his second US game. The last one was a 0-0 draw in Wales in Cardiff, November of 2020. Refereed the Scottish FA Cup final a couple of years ago. A couple of World Cup qualifying matches in Europe in this last cycle as well. Pochettino talking about the energy and unity within the squad this week. Melissa mentioned that the players seem to be a little more relaxed. He said he was actually getting to see what they're really like now instead of the way that they were acting before when they weren't sure if they were going to make it into the squad. But he was very clear today, Mauricio Pochettino. Yes, they want to compete, but the main win today would be getting back healthy to the training camp in Atlanta.
Yeah, Bees talked about it pre-game. You would like to see the starting 11 2 games in a row that's going to play the first game of the World Cup. That's just not going to happen. I mean, managing minutes, Weston and Chris, players that are definitely going to be in that first game in the starting lineup if they're fit enough. It's an unusual scenario in which we may see, for the first time ever, the starting 11 in that first game.
Serginho Dest down the right side brings it in for Berhalter, then Adams in towards Reina. Reina's first start for club or country since December, when he played from the opening whistle for Gladbach against Dortmund. Scored a goal on his last US start, Gio Reina. That was in Chester, Pennsylvania, the win against Paraguay last fall. This is Ream out wide to the left side for Robinson. Now Pepe, lovely ball through from Pepe towards Christian Pulisic. Pulisic across goal, and it's knocked in from Dest. 1-0 for the United States. Just 6 minutes in here, Serginho Dest with a goal. And it was made by Christian Pulisic and Ricardo Pepe.
Well, just a moment ago, we were talking about how high the fullbacks in this Pochettino side are, but from Pepe, that is just wonderful build-up play to have the understanding that he can get turned there. But this is your right wing back. This is Dest, and watch the position he's coming from. You would think he's a center forward. I mean, that's just beautiful play there from Pepe to get turned, and the ball is perfect from Christian Pulisic. At this point, he takes a touch, looks up, puts some pace on it, and it's a good finish because it skips slightly ahead of Dest. That's a wonderful start from the U.S. And that's why Dest is out there. That's why Pochettino has him in this side, has him in this team, and potentially is going to start him first game, because what he can do going forward is pretty spectacular.
Dest assisted on Christian Pulisic's goal against Iran in the win in the last World Cup in Qatar. Today, roles reversed as Pulisic gets the assist for Serginho Dest. Both of those players will be going to a second World Cup. Mori Diaw is down as the referee blows the whistle, but the Le Havre keeper seems to be okay here.
And watch Pepe. I mean, this is so good to have the awareness that Pochettino wants him to come back to the ball, wants him to hold it up, but with Pulisic not playing wide, Pulisic having that freedom to float around internally, it's always about how can you find him in those forward positions. So rather than just playing safe, lovely little cut pass inside to Pulisic. And Balogun is going to start. If he's healthy, that's the number one up top in the 9 position. But Pepe, he's been, every time he's been asked, making a big statement for himself.
Last time Ricardo Pepe got a chance to start back in the fall of 2024. It was back-to-back starts, and he scored in both games. In fact, Pepe has 4 goals in his last 6 starts. He gets the call today and assists on the opening goal with that ball in towards Christian Pulisic, who had no goals and 1 assist in his last 8 US games prior to this one today. Turning in the midfield, Camara, the teammate of Balogun's at Monaco. They're 2 of Flo Balogun's teammates at club level in this starting 11 for Senegal. Diatta at right back and Lamine Camara in midfield.
Yeah, Luke, you were talking about Christian Pulisic, his 20th career assist, and it takes him to 52 career goal contributions, actually moving him past Eric Winalda into sole possession of 4th all time with this men's national team.
85th cap today for the 27-year-old from Hershey, Pennsylvania. Some defending to do now for the United States. Jacobs is standing over it, the Galatasaray man, but it's the right foot delivery instead and headed away by Freeman. As it comes towards this right side, and Diatta. Senegal ranked number 14th in the world. The highest ever ranking was 12th in January. It will be their 4th World Cup, their 3rd in a row. One of 10 African teams at the World Cup as Anthony Robinson goes down. He was caught there by Habib Diarra.
And this intensity to close the ball down. If we go back to early Pochettino era, that was something that was so frustrating. It's just the spirit, the competitive nature to just get around the ball, to put in tackles, to close people down. I mean, that's something that definitely started to show up once he made it very clear he doesn't care what the name is on the back of the jersey. He's got to see competitive spirit out of the side. And he's seeing that early on in this game.
He's also seen around
all over the place.
70 players over the course of the time that Maurizio Pochettino has been involved, but some players like Anthony Robinson have spent long periods of time where they've not been available, of course. Robinson starting both in March. They were his first appearances since the fall of 2024. He started the first 4 under Maurizio Pochettino, but then wasn't involved again until March. But such a crucial part of this side, as he was playing every minute of the 2022 World Cup in all 4 games for the US in Qatar. Young central defender Mamadou Sarr of Chelsea out wide to the left side. Jacobs forward, picked up in the midfield, and back they go towards Mackenzie. No Chris Richards involved today. Still question marks about that ankle injury that he picked up right at the end of the season for Crystal Palace. Maurizio Pochettino saying ahead of this camp that the next few days will be key to Chris Richards. They felt it was better he stay at the incredible new facility in Atlanta rather than make the trip to Charlotte as he continues his recovery. Pap Chow, 45-year-old Senegalese head coach, replaced Aliou Cissé in December of 2024.
What a first game he has. I would imagine looking at the draw in France, first game. Oof.
Play through towards Sadio Mane. Matt Turner comes out, he gets there just ahead of Sadio Mane. Mane sits, arms aloft, asking the referee if he should have got a penalty. But here come the US once more down the right side, and Dest, the goal scorer, involved again. I'll give you a minute to think about it.
It wasn't a penalty. I mean, from my angle, I watched the ball take off the way it had to in order for him to get a touch on it, and it was very, very close. That was a great play. I put myself out on a limb.
Well, there is VAR, so if you're wrong, we'll know.
Well, this is why VAR has let us down a lot. It shouldn't take that long. It should be pretty clear, pretty fast.
Matt Turner was certainly confident from his reaction. Sadio Mane seemed sure it should have been a spot kick. This is Freeman down the right side, the former Orlando man, back in here for Gio Reyna. Freeman linking up there with Dest, and out it goes on the far side for a throw.
Just want a little high line here from the US, and Mane, he's right there getting to it. And that's not a conclusive replay. But it did look like it was Turner's right hand that popped that ball away from Mane, even though Mane was trying to cut it away from him.
Tyler Adams and Sadio Mane squaring up there.
This is the replay you need. Right there. I mean, wonderful. And Mane looks like he even gets to it first, and just a little toe poke goes right into that strong right hand of Turner. And that's how tight that decision was. Done from Turner. And then makes that play and immediately picks the ball up and throws it 30, 40 yards down the field to start the transition.
Sadio Mane now playing with Al Nassr. He's 34 years old. Second most caps all time for Senegal. Their all-time leading scorer. It will be his second World Cup. He missed Qatar with an injury, but played 90 minutes in all 3 games in 2018. Scored against Japan in a 2-2 game in the group stage in Russia.
Hey guys, when you think about what Mauricio and some of the players have said about using this game as opportunity to build confidence, for Matt Turner, that's exactly that. Those 1v1s.
Pulisic away down the left side. Pepe is in the middle. Pulisic will turn. And now here's Berhalter on the edge of the box. Back it comes to Dest. Adams. Pepe turning there against Sadio Mane, and out of play it goes on the far side.
I want to go back to Melissa's point about confidence. Alex Freeman, I mean, a young player who absolutely deserves to be here and has improved so much, and it's one of the only reasons we can have Dest out there and play this really expansive, exciting back three where he has a high starting position, is you have a player that can play center back, play fullback, and today against Mane, man, that'll give him some confidence if he has a great game against one of the world-class wingers in this tournament.
Jackson coming forward as Robinson gets a touch. Sadio Mane. Diarra through it, and Jai down the right. Back it comes, and over the bar from Nicholas Jackson. The first clear-cut opportunity for Senegal inside the US penalty area. It comes 15 minutes in.
And watch this lovely, delicate Meg pass right here. And perfect run. It just gets skipped into him. Yeah, Jackson's quality, you expect him to hit the target. That is a difficult chance, as it doesn't, not only comes at him fast, but skips right before him, and he can't keep it down.
We were talking there, though, Kyle, about Alex Freeman and how much he deserves to be in this squad. And sometimes it's easy to forget that it was only this time last year when he made his debut. Patrick Adjiman, the former Charlotte man, in attendance here. He scored in the March window for the US, and then that injury that will now keep him out that he picked up with Derby County. A huge blow for Patrick Adjiman, but he'll be back, given his story.
Look at Pepe. Look at the players that missed last time, and for the Diego Lunas and the Aiden Morrises and Tanner Tessmans and McGlynn's and all the players that were close, and there were arguments for them to be included. They just used being left out the same way Pepe did, as a challenge to make sure it is so clear you should be there next time.
Yeah, my heart was broken for Adjiman, especially because I actually suffered the same injury prior to the World Cup, which was an Achilles tear. I actually shot him a DM, and we were chatting for a bit, and I gave him some words of not only condolences, but of optimism, because things do get better, and you learn so much from recovery. So my big shout out to Adjiman, because I can't wait to see him continue to shine.
Diatta. That familiar man and Jai, the Everton man. Sarr, he was on loan at Strasbourg, came back to Chelsea, his parent club, in February. And the ball launched long towards Matt Turner. So back to Freeman, just last year, the Turkey game at Hartford when he made his debut. And there was a lot of talk at the time about this player who was on the rise, getting his opportunity for the first time in Major League Soccer to be a regular starter with Orlando. He goes on, and then this is his 15th appearance in a row. Since that Turkey game, he's now played in 16 of 17 games for the United States. He was an MLS All-Star last year. He was in the best 11. He was the MLS Young Player of the Year. Gets the move to Villarreal, and now a World Cup squad, all in the space of 12 months, Carl.
That's incredible. I mean, that's how quickly. Unfortunately, it can change quickly in the negative direction, but it can change very quickly in the positive direction, as it has with him.
Alex Freeman talked wonders about his relationship with the coaching staff, and he said when he got onto this team, he was a bit shy, and he said talked for about an hour after his first training with Mauricio, and said he told him what he needed to improve on, but he saw that the confidence that he gave in his ability. He said, this is what you're good at, this is what you need to work on, and look at him now.
Jai tracking back up against Anthony Robinson. Those two have faced each other before in England. Pulisic down the left side. Couldn't get past Diatta. And a free kick given here by referee Nick Jones. The US with their 7th goal inside the opening 10 minutes under Maurizio Pochettino. The last time was Gio Reyna's 4th-minute goal against Paraguay back in November. Came today from Serginho Dest. Dest's 3rd career international goal. His first goal since 2021. The last one coming in October of that year, a 2-1 World Cup qualifying win against Costa Rica. Great crowd in Charlotte, North Carolina today. They are really into it. Fantastic atmosphere.
The USA chants already. Guys, the World Cup buzz, we're feeling it.
Next weekend, the final game before the World Cup in Chicago at Soldier Field against Germany. This one pushed forward down the right side for Pepe to chase. Pulisic is in the middle. Pepe rolls it in. It's Christian Pulisic round the keeper. It's Pulisic with a goal. What a start for Christian Pulisic. A goal and an assist in the first 20 minutes. And the United States lead by 2-0. And didn't he need that?
A delicious little sequence here. Look at Freeman. You know, inverts, and the timing, not only of that pass, the pace of it, but the run from Pepe. I mean, it's almost like training ground, except for top speed, against a team that is a dark horse for the tournament. And watch Christian Pulisic just tiptoe that back line. In the blind spot, gets lost, and this ball has to be perfect, and it is. And the touch, and then how quickly he's able to get around the goalkeeper and finish it. This will give you a look. Perfect weight of this pass. Lovely finish, and at the top of the show we were talking about it. People worried about or questioning Christian Pulisic. His form's dipped a little bit. How's he going to be in the tournament? He's a big-time player. I said it then, I will say it again. No worries about him performing in the big moments. And look at what it means. You know, the friendlies are over. That's how much it means right now with the World Cup moments away.
Christian Pulisic got a goal as well, the penultimate game before Copa America. There's Pepe. In fact, it was the last game before Copa America, that Brazil game in Orlando when he scored in the draw. But it's been a while since he's been on the score sheet for the US, November of 2024 in the Nations League quarter-final against St. Louis. But a goal and an assist today. And Ricardo Pepi, having been involved in the first goal, involved in the build-up for the second one as well. Here's Nicholas Jackson pushing it forward. Sadio Mane is chasing. Great defending there from Freeman.
Incredible defending.
Guys, we're talking about Christian Pulisic and what everyone was saying, and he knew it well. You know, a goal drought for club and country. What is most impressive is that, of course, media putting pressure on him, and him with such professionalism and confidence in saying, I'm confident that good things are going to come. Opportunities are coming ahead of us. Things can change fast. He knew it. He had a feeling inside of him that whether it's a knee on the ball or an actual goal like the one that he just scored, it was going to come. And that's a true spirit of a not only professional but a world-class player.
I mean, Melissa, I was just with Landon Donovan, still arguably the best player, and I think the best player that's ever played for the U.S. And there were droughts. There were times where he didn't play well. Yeah, there was that move to Germany when he was young, and there were people criticizing him all throughout his career. And the reason Landon was Landon and became one of the best players ever is his belief in himself never wavered. And Christian is a similar character.
He didn't have a goal in his last 19 league appearances for Milan. It's his first goal for club or country since December the 28th. As we get to the hydration break here at the midway mark in the first half. Here's our AT&T net cam.
It's bad.
Melissa, you can't see it, and I don't know if you've seen a good replay yet, but just what a beautiful goal that was. A team play, a great pass in from Pepe. You know, and I think people underestimate how good Pepe is turning, facing forward, and that's twice now he's been able to set up a goal by getting in those pockets between the lines.
Well, this is a start that Mauricio Pochettino would have been dreaming about. Certainly Christian Pulisic would. The first goal coming the 7th minute. Serginho Dest scoring it. Pulisic with the assist, then Pulisic with the goal assisted by Pepe in the 20th minute for 2-0 here against Senegal.
That is a goal that we need to go before. Okay, come on, keep going, play. And now, stop, and now. Listen, team. Now you see that it's impossible to play. Play here, stay a little bit better angle, Shelai. And we play safe. Because in that moment, we are open, okay? Next one. But we need to read before, Shio. That ball, the same. Team. Listen, hey, listen. Get that ball, hey. Okay.
just like your day, Kyle, with a laptop. Oh, no?
No, I mean, there was a desktop. You couldn't carry a desktop out there and show us what was going on.
Bringing the plug across to the edge of the bench. But we spoke to Roberto Martinez in Atlanta, and he talked about the fact that whether you like it or not, if there is to be this hydration break, you have to make sure as a head coach you are prepared to get the most advantage possible out of these moments. And Maurizio Pochettino, they're obviously ready.
I mean, listen, in the modern game, the thing that I think is a bit ridiculous is the circus of, in the technical area, coaches just screaming and dancing nonstop. That has very little impact. I love Pep, I love Arteta, I'm an Arsenal fan, but watching this endless on the sideline screaming, go here, go there, that doesn't have much of an impact. But you have an impact at halftime, and this is almost a half of halftime that they will have that chance to look at film, to look at photos, to look at video. That stuff helps. That reset will matter. And so that's interesting, this World Cup, where there's another tactical opportunity to get information off to your team that they can put into effect real time.
US Soccer on TBS is presented by Volkswagen. Live life in the driver's seat. 11 days until the World Cup begins, 12 days until the first game for the United States against Paraguay in LA. Then it's off to Seattle to face Australia before finishing the group back in LA against Turkey. This Senegal side in Group I, they open up against the two-time World Cup winners France at MetLife in New Jersey. They then play Erling Haaland and Norway, also in New Jersey, before heading up to Canada to take on Iraq in Toronto to close the game at the group stage on June 26th. But when I was looking at that potential second game in the group for Senegal against Norway, Kyle, Erling Haaland, you know how good he is, but until you see the stats, 55 goals in 49 caps at international level for Erling Haaland. Incredible record. So Senegal will have to deal with that in game 2 of their World Cup campaign.
What a group. Oh, man.
Maurizio Pochettino said he didn't want to disrespect anybody, but he wasn't sure whether to call Senegal the African champions or not, given what happened with the way that AFCON final finished and then the subsequent legal issues.
I've never seen anything like it. I guess forget who won that match. You'd have to say impressive what Senegal did in it, especially against a team like Morocco.
Skipping away down the right, the foul.
And for those fans that have no idea what we're talking about, just go look it up. It's worth rewatching.
Find it on YouTube if you've got about 30 minutes of time. And that was just the bit when they walked off and came back on again. But if you take the final as a win, they actually won 6 of their 7 games in the tournament. The only draw was against DR Congo in the group stage. They had 5 clean sheets along the way, Senegal. They are actually a team in form, but today they've been taken apart by the US. Maurizio Pochettino was halfway down the touchline there, screaming at Dest to move a little bit instead of being in the wall. This is played along the edge of the box, and US can break here, and it's Dest that picks it up here, up against Lamine Camara. And then the crossfield ball out to the right side. Berhalter chasing forward. This is Freeman from distance and straight against Diarra. Reina floated neatly out to Berhalter on that far side and straight into the arms of Mori Diaw. It's the 5th cap for the goalkeeper, the 32-year-old, who has been beaten twice here in the opening 28 minutes in Charlotte. Talk about Senegal facing France and the difficulty of that opening game of the tournament. They had it on this day 24 years ago, their first ever World Cup game. And here's a chance here for Pepe. Pepe drives it across goal. No one in there as Dest is pushing forward. And it comes back towards Mamadou Sarr. First ever World Cup game 24 years ago today. They beat the defending champions France in the opening game of the World Cup, 1-0 in Seoul. Bouba Diop scored the goal. But the team for France that day, the likes of Fabien Barthez, Thuram, Desailly, Vieira, Henry, Trezeguet, wasn't a bad lineup. Senegal went in a first ever World Cup game and beat them.
Unfortunately, this French team isn't that worse. Isn't that much worse?
Illiman and Jai down the right side as he cuts in, and Tyler Adams gets a foot to it. Across it goes there from Camera, and now picked up in the midfield, and the shot from distance goes wide, and it's the youngster Barasapoko and